Okay. Hello, everyone, and welcome to our talk about Spirit Bear and Children Make History. We are so excited to be here with you. My name is Emily, and I work at the First Nations Child and Family Caring Society of Canada. To get things started in a good way today, we have to acknowledge where we are and give thanks to some very special people. So to begin, we have to acknowledge that we are, myself and all of the special panelists that are joining us today are coming from and are situated on unceded Algonquin territory. I also, as I said, have some very special people that we need to thank. So first and foremost, we need to thank Jordan River Anderson, the founder of Jordan's Principle, his family and community, who have worked to make sure that First Nations kids get the things that they need in loving memory of Jordan. We also have to thank Amanda Strong. Amanda Strong is the very talented Michif artist and filmmaker who worked with her team at Spotted Fawn Productions to make this really awesome movie. We also have to thank kids and youth from Carrier Secondary who worked to make the really beautiful theme song that you hear in the film, and David Hodges at Impact, who helped to make that happen, as well as Melissa, my friend Melissa at FN Cares, who helped us, who worked really hard to plan this event. So now what I'm going to do is we're going to talk about what we're doing today. So the movie tells, as you know, many of you have watched the film in your classrooms. This is so exciting. So the movie tells a true story about a real case that's still happening at the Canadian Human Rights Tribunal, and real people standing with First Nations kids to make Jordan's Principle a reality. So today we're joined with some of the people who were part of this story to talk about it and answer some of your questions. So how are we going to do that? So what today is going to look like, I'm going to be asking some very special guests who I'm going to introduce in just a moment, some questions. We're going to do that for until about 1:35 or so. And then we want to hear your questions. How you can submit questions, folks, is you can use the Q&A function in Zoom to submit your questions, and we'll have some folks going through them. And at the end, we'll have time for the panelists to answer them. Yeah, so now I'm very excited to move on to introductions. I'm very excited to be here with some wonderful people. So first and foremost, we have Cindy Blackstock. Cindy, can we see you? Amazing. So Cindy is a member of the Gitxsan First Nation. She is the author of the book that the movie is based on, and she's the co-producer of the movie. She worked really closely with Amanda Strong to make this happen, and she's the executive director of the Caring Society. We also have Spirit Bear. Spirit Bear, who you all know, you're going to get to know Spirit Bear together. Spirit Bear is there sitting next to Cindy today. He's the star of the book and the film. We also have Thielen Kagnaswe. Thielen, are you there? Oh, wonderful. Thanks, Thielen. So Thielen is a Potawatomi and Cree activist, a singer, grass and hoop dancer, a phenomenal TikToker. He's been working with the Caring Society for a number of years, and he's also the voice actor who plays Spirit Bear. So we're going to get to speak to him about his experience today. We also have Raya Patel. Raya Patel is a young person who has been really committed to and helping the Caring Society for a number of years, since I believe she was 6 years old, which is just amazing. And Raya's in grade 11 now. And we have Danielle Fontaine. Danielle Fontaine. Hi, Danielle. Danielle is a retired teacher who for many years has been teaching in the spirit of reconciliation. And Danielle had the experience of taking her students to the tribunal hearings. So we're going to get to hear about that today as well. All right. So now that we have everyone here, we're ready to get started with our questions. So my first question is for Cindy, and it's about Spirit Bear. We got a lot of really wonderful questions this week as students all over Canada and Turtle Island are watching the film. And a lot of students want to know about Spirit Bear. They asked us questions like, how did Spirit Bear come to be? Is he real? How did he get his name? And why does he tell the story?
Those are all really great questions. And Spirit Bear, as you can see, is real. And the way he came to be is when we were filing the case, I went to see Mary Teegee, who is Mary the Bear in the film, as you just saw when the thing was rolling by. Now, Mary Teegee is the executive director of Care Secondary Family Services. And she wanted to make sure that we always remembered what the case was about, that it was about children. So she gave me Spirit Bear, and he has gone to every single meeting and a hearing, and he goes out and meets with children, young people, and adults all over Canada. And that's his role, is to be an ambassador. So when children started coming into the tribunal room, then children like Raya and like Thielen, they were a lot younger back then, but those and others, they would see Spirit Bear and they would take him, they would tell him all their stories about what they were learning. And they would often send him back with fan mail. He came back with cool sunglasses one time, and kids would actually bake him cookies. So he witnessed everything. And in First Nations traditions, particularly on the West Coast, but in other First Nations communities as well, we have ceremonies called witnessing ceremonies, where when you have witnessed something important, your job is to remember it and take the message of that event or that story back to your nation so that others know. And that's really what Spirit Bear did. He's the witness, and he represents not only all the First Nations children in the case, but all the other children of all other diversities who stood with them for the achievement of justice for First Nations kids. So that's what he's all about. You're muted, Emily.
Thank you, Cindy. Thank you for that beautiful answer. That's wonderful. So Thielen, you were the voice of Spirit Bear in the movie, and you've known Spirit Bear for many, many years. What does Spirit Bear mean to you? Why did you decide to lend him your voice in the movie? And what was that experience like for you?
Yeah, so it was a awesome experience to be Spirit Bear in the movie, and I really appreciate Cindy for allowing me to share my voice and to be Spirit Bear in this amazing film that was put together. And I just, like, to me, Spirit Bear, I feel like me and him are brothers now, and like we are together forever. So that's a really good feeling. And when we were actually recording it, when I was first asked, I was like, wow, this is a really big honor. This is really awesome. And immediately I was like, yes, of course, I would love to lend my voice and to be a part of this great movement. So, to be a part of this, to be able to share my voice with hundreds of people all around the world, all around Canada, so that they know, our history, they know a little bit more about what Spirit Bear does and what he goes through. And amazing production by Spotted Fawn, and everyone that put it together, it's amazing. So yeah, it was just a really great honor, and really happy that we were able to make this happen and come alive. So yeah, miigwech.
And if I might, Emily, I think that Thielen puts the spirit into Spirit Bear. He's a very sacred bear. And that's really what Thielen to spend a lot of his life is really devoting to culture and enabling spirit and honoring spirit. So he was a perfect choice for this.
Thank you so much.
I wanted to add something there. Seeing Thielen in the film and hearing Thielen's voice to me was super special, because I had seen him dance, doing his hoop dancing. I had seen him grow up. I'd seen him when he was quite young and met his mother and was able to go to workshops and sweats with her. And it was just, to me, a really meaningful thing to have Thielen part of this whole thing.
Wonderful. So Danielle, this lends nicely into my next question for you. So the kids and the adults in the movie that show up to support Spirit Bear and Cindy are inspired by students and like yours, and teachers that show up there are inspired by teachers like you. What was it like to go to the tribunal with your class? How did this impact you and your students?
So that's a really meaningful question you're asking me, because when I think back to the tribunal, we were learning about Shannon's dream at the time. And then from that, we learned about many other campaigns. And so we learned about the tribunal. And we took a field trip that day to the Supreme Court in Ottawa. And it's this huge, majestic building with these kind of awesome statues outside. And I remember pulling up to the building, and then we opened the big, huge doors. I think they're like, 10-foot doors. And you go into the big, large room. And we were ushered into another room, because at that time, the room was filled. So we couldn't go into the court itself. We were in another room, and we could watch the proceedings on video. My kids were so in awe, and they were pretty calm. I was so pleased. A lot of them had brought little notebooks with them, and they were drawing things around what they saw. Spirit Bear was there, and they were writing words that they heard that they were interested to find out about more, and that they would ask me later on. We'd talk about as the next day when we did some debriefing. But then at one point there was a break, and we went out to the big hall again, and Cindy Blackstock came over to meet the kids, along with Sean Atleo, who was the chief of the Assembly of First Nations. And I remember being so honored, and the children as well. And the kids just had so many questions, and it was just so important that we were a part of that. The kids really understood that this was something true, this was something real. And to me also, the kids could see that there was, something wrong, and they felt that connection. And to me, that's what really happened there, was the kids gained empathy and compassion, and they wanted to do something about it.
That's amazing. It's very inspiring to hear about, Danielle. I'm wondering too, you said that you were learning about Shannon's dream. Could you tell us a little bit more about Shannon's dream?
Well, Shannon Kustashian is a girl from Attawapiskat Cree Nation, which is way up north in an isolated community on James Bay in the Ontario side. And her school was contaminated when oil pipes froze under the ground and leaked. They weren't buried properly. And that's what we're finding out, is that a lot of the work that's being done up there with water or with construction is not done properly. And I don't know why. So these pipes burst into the ground, and they contaminated the school. Now, these kids went to that school for years and suffered headaches and came home and were smelling like gas. And Shannon and her community stood up and wanted to get their treaty rights and have the school fixed and repaired and torn down and built a new one. And it took 30 years before a new school was built. So we learned so much about Shannon, and she was an amazing girl that really inspired us. I could go on and on.
Yeah, I hear you. So yeah, Shannon Kustashian is a real hero. And she, as you said, she also asked for fairness and justice from the government. She's a real inspiration. And she's actually going to be in the next book. Well, she's in the second book, and she's going to be in the next movie. So this focuses on Jordan's story, on Jordan's principle and the case. But yeah, stay tuned, folks, because there's going to be another wonderful movie, and you're going to learn all about the really incredible work of Shannon Kustashian. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So up next, Cindy, I have a question for you. I got lots of questions from folks about Cindy the Sheep. Cindy the Sheep is based on you. What's the story here? Madame Asha's grade 2-3 class in Brampton asked me. They want to know why you picked a sheep to play your role in the movie. And they also want to know, Chris Buccini's class in Ottawa wants to know why she is so fashionable.
Oh, well, first of all, as you would have seen at the beginning, Cindy the Sheep is a real sheep. And actually, I didn't pick her to be in the movie. You see, what happened is that I went out and I did a talk to some nurses who are learning to be nurses. And it was in the middle of winter in Montreal. And then when you do a talk and you share things like Jordan's principle, you hope people understand, but you never know what happens after that. But I got an email a few weeks later from one of the students who was working on a farm. She lived on a farm, and they had a baby lamb born, and they decided to name her Cindy the Sheep. And so Cindy actually became a award-winning 4-H sheep. And when you see her in her leopard jacket, that's just after she had a bath, because you want to keep her nice and white and fluffy for the judging. And that's why she's so fashionable. She has a lot of clothes. And if I'm really honest, I have a lot of clothes too. I love vintage clothes, so I'm always in places like Value Village and places like that, ruffling through the clothes racks. So kind of, you know, her leopard outfit and mine. And how she got into the film is Spirit Bear needed somebody to welcome them. And so we have a wonderful child and youth advisory circle here. And my thought was, well, we'll just write in another bear. But they said, no, we have to respect diversity. And we have diversity in all the children. So we have to have diversity in the animals too. So that's how Cindy the sheep got into the film.
Cindy, I also have another question here that I've been asked a couple of times. Folks want to know why is it important to you, right, that these characters are animals?
It's very important because animals are sacred to First Nations peoples. And they have different types of meanings. So the bears, for example, although there's diverse meanings amongst different First Nations, and that's one of the wonderful things about First Nations culture is it's very diverse. But for many First Nations cultures, it means family. And you can see that Spirit Bear spends a lot of time with his family. He learns from his family, and he also has friends that are kind of family that he wanders in, and he's standing up for families. So it's very important that we have animals in this piece. And it's also a reminder to all of us how to respect the land, respect the animals, and respect the water. And we'll see some of these themes coming up about reminding us about how important it is that we honor and respect the animals, the land, and the teachings behind that as we go forward. So, and I know that, Raya's been such a big part of this campaign since she was like 6 years old. I still remember Raya out there on Have a Heart Day, which is also real. And I heard this very strong, intelligent voice. And I thought, where is it coming from? And she was so small then that we couldn't even see her over the top of the banner. But she has just been such a huge advocate in this whole process. So I'm hoping we can hear a few words from her.
Yeah, Raya, I have a question for you up next. I was also going to say, yeah, you've been involved in the Caring Society since you were 6. This inspires me too. And I know that there's a lot of students listening in, right, that might be at that age right now. So Thielen and Raya, we want to hear your perspective on this. I wanted to ask you, Raya, what have you learned from this work that you've been doing for a long time? Why do you think it's important for kids to learn about this story?
Absolutely. Thank you, Emily, and thank you, Cindy. I really appreciate that. I have been involved since I was really young. I grew up at the Caring Society and working with all this stuff. So I've learned so much, and I'm still learning because I'm a student, like you guys listening today. I'm still a kid. But I originally learned about Shannon's dream and Jordan's principles, which were the stories that really inspired me to continue this work. And these children just always remind me that children have a voice, and it's really important that we speak up when we recognize that something is unfair. So yeah, I've learned from Cindy and people like Danielle that children deserve to be heard, and they know when things are right or wrong.
Thank you so much, Raya. That's a really beautiful answer.
Thank you.
Cindy, we got lots of questions from students about how the movie was made. What was it like to work with Amanda Strong, the filmmaker, to make the movie? And what was your favorite part of the process?
Okay, well, first of all, Amanda and her team did a beautiful job illustrating the books, right?
Yeah.
And some of you may know, and if you don't, look her up, this wonderful, iconic filmmaker that both Thielen, Raya, Danielle, and I have met. Her name is Eleniso Bomsawin. So when we were thinking about who should we get to animate this film, she said right away, well, go back to Amanda. She can do it. She's the right person to do this. And her team actually handcrafted everything. Sometimes we think everything can be done by computer these days. That's not how they work. They actually built all of those puppets and all of the scenes and all of the huckleberry bushes and all of the butterflies, all by hand. And you know, when I walked into their studio and I saw this unbelievable craftsmanship that was happening all around me, what was most present there is the love and the spirit that they put into the work. They fell in love with the children, just as I'd fallen in love with the children, and everyone on this in this call has. And they were putting that into everything that they were doing. And that's why you see so much detail. For example, in the kitchen scene, if you look really close, you'll see a James Bear cookbook, right? And you'll see First Nations history books on Spirit Bear's bookshelf. And he even has a name tag from some of the conferences where he goes to visit schools and things on his bulletin board. So there's so much detail there. But, you know, whatever you do, you work really hard about it, but you never forget to put your heart into it. And that's why this film turned out so beautifully with Amanda and her team. They really put their heart into it, and it shows.
Yeah, whenever I watch the movie, I'm so struck by just the absolutely amazing detail and love that has gone into it, and all of these hand knit, hand beaded, handcrafted things. Like what a work of love. Yeah. Mm-hmm. All right. So up next, I have a question for Thielen. It comes from, I really liked this question. It comes from James at Hopewell Avenue Public School. James wants to know if you think that kids can make a difference to stop discrimination against First Nations kids and adults. What do you think, Thielen? What advice would you give James?
Yeah, I totally agree with you, James, at Hopewell Avenue. Thank you so much for your question. Definitely kids, youth, adults, elders, it starts with all of us. And, you know, it's one of those things where, you know, I've experienced it myself. I've experienced bullying like growing up, and, you know, it starts with having conversations like this, knowing that, you know, we're all telling each other that, you know, like we're all loved, we're okay in this moment. And, you know, kind of just sharing with your friends and your peers that, you know, sometimes, you know, it's okay to you know, express your emotions in different ways. But, you know, for myself, you know, I've definitely encountered different things, but, you know, just sharing those experiences helps us all grow together. So, you know, I personally believe that, you know, to end discrimination in schools, it definitely didn't start in this generation, but we can definitely end it in this generation, and it starts today. So definitely, you know, be aware of your friends, be aware, tell them like, you know, that's not okay, you know, say, you know, please don't do that, you know, just be conscientious of the different conversations that you have, because it all starts today, and we can work to create, you know, a better tomorrow for all of us going into school, which is a nice, safe place for all to learn. So yeah, great question, James. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Thielen. All right. So Cindy, I also got lots of questions about what's going on with the case of the tribunal these days. Some people, a lot of students asked me questions like, wow, why is this happening? There was a lot of surprise. This is still happening. Why hasn't the government, what's going on there? So has the government of Canada fixed the unfairness, or is there more work to be done?
Well, there's more work to be done. In fact, yesterday we got another order on Jordan's principle. And that means that more kids are going to get help, which is really exciting. That's exactly what Spirit Bear and everybody on this call is here for, is to make sure that that happens. So there's something in Canada called the Indian Act, and it's goes way back, and it's wrong. It really says who's a status Indian and who's not. And I don't believe in any of that. I think that that your identity is sacred. And so this says that you don't have to have a link to that Indian Act in order to get help. It's just really about, if you're a First Nations child, you're able to get the help you need under Jordan's principle. And I know it's kind of out of sequence, but I would love to hear what Raya's response would have been to James' question.
Yeah.
About how she feels that children and young people can make a difference in discrimination too.
Yeah, it's a great question. I think Thielen answered it perfectly, but children are they're the future of this country, and I absolutely think that children can make a difference and be activists. I was a kid when I got involved. I still am, and kids have an innate sense of justice. They know when something's wrong, and they know when something needs to be fixed. So I think we should listen to children, and they have power to make the change.
Thanks so much, Raya. Yeah, this flows really nicely into my next question, which is sort of open to anyone, but also to Raya and Danielle. I'm wondering, how have you taken action over the years? So you've both, and Thielen as well, you've taken up sort of this call to stand with First Nations kids for justice within schools. And so I'm wondering, what actions have you taken, and what can kids do? What can teachers and learners and students do?
Well, I'll answer first if that's okay. What I've really learned myself is that this is about connected learning. And when you're learning about how to be connected to others, and you're not just focused on people that are like you, but others out there, and you grow to have empathy and have compassion. And compassion to me is linked closely to action. My kids have learned so much. I mean, I have a list of things that we worked on. We learned about Shannon's dream and Jordan's principle and the tribunal. We learned about residential schools. We learned about the child welfare system and foster care, and the fact that there's unfair treatment of Indigenous children being taken out even today, too many, how kids are still taken away, the lack of water on reserves, clean water, there's boiled water advisories. We just learned about history. We learned about a wonderful person named Dr. Peter Henderson Bryce. We learned about treaties, and that we are part of a treaty. We are all treaty people, and that we are all responsible for making this world great in this country. We learned about this beautiful story, the hummingbird, and that a hummingbird can just do a small bit, and we're just kids, but we can just do a small little bit, and what we do really matters. We can do writing letters, reading and research. We can do art and take action and go to rallies and campaigns like Shannon's Dream and Have a Heart Day. We can do drama with it, and games and music and song. There's so much. We can do oral communication. I had a group of students who were part of a speakers bureau, and they wanted to just share this news and talk to others, that they were invited to universities and other schools and high schools. It was just like phenomenal. So that's.
Go ahead, Raya. Thank you so much, Danielle. So many rich ideas. Yeah.
Yeah, Danielle's answer was perfect. I think that reconciliation and change, taking action, are really about learning. For me, the biggest thing I've done is learn. I've learned from Cindy. I've learned from Thielen. Danielle, I've known you for quite a while, so I've also learned from you. And yeah, the biggest thing I can say is read, be here today, watch films like the Spirit Bear film, and just learn. And that's really how you make a difference.
Thanks, Raya. I agree with you. I think learning is so important before we act, right? We have to learn. These two things go together. Is there anything else anyone would like to add to that question? What kids can do?
I just wanted to share one thing that I noticed over the years, of about almost 10 years, I think, that I've been involved. What I noticed when kids wanted to read their letters, they would volunteer to read and go to Have a Heart Day and read their letters. And what I noticed was that a lot of those kids had experiences with being bullied or had special needs themselves, and they really felt an affinity with what they were seeing happening to Indigenous people and First Nations people in Canada. And they weren't being their voice, but they were lending their voice, and they were wanting to stand in solidarity with those kids. And they really felt it was a meaningful and a real true action that they were taking.
And in many ways, those children, to me, were just exemplifying the moral courage that Dr. Bryce, that you talked about, Danielle, really shows us. You know, I just find that children are so willing to step in and not when they see unfairness, and not just learn about it, but do something about it. Right? A lot of adults wring their hands. Well, what can I do? What can I do? But children, young people, and wonderful teachers like you know that, sometimes it's drawing a picture about why water is important and sending that off to the Prime Minister and just saying every kid deserves clean water. It doesn't have to be that difficult, and it certainly doesn't need to cost any money. So we have 7 free ways to get you started on our website. And that's just the beginning about how you can engage in ways that really do make a difference. And I've just been so heartened by young people like Thielen, like Raya, and by teachers like you, Danielle. You have just really made sure that this generation of First Nations children will never be alone again.
That's so powerful. This really, this dovetails really nicely with this question that I just got in from grade 4 Sunnyside Elementary School students. And they said, what can kids do to help Spirit Bear during COVID? And I like this question because it is like, we showed pictures at the beginning of gathering on the hill and coming together. And that's really important. We can't do that right now, right? We have to find safe ways to, to help Spirit Bear to stand with First Nations kids. But there's lots of things that you can do. We'll be sending out an email on Monday, actually, to all of the teachers with things that you can do at home, you can do safely. As Cindy said, you can do for free, you can do from your computer. If you can't send a letter or get to the post office, you can always send an email to Mr. Trudeau or to anybody else in the government. These things are all possibilities. Yeah, Cindy, I see you have something in your hand there.
Yeah, I have Spirit Bear calendar. And we all, this calendar can go into your school, and it has something free that you can do either at home or in your family or in your school or daycare that helps implement the TRC's calls to action. And Spirit Bear has child-friendly TRC's to calls to action. And last year, when COVID came, we knew that children and young people still wanted to make a difference. So we have translated all of the activities into what we call hibernating for health. Spirit Bear has done that. So all the activities you can still do, but in a way that really helps keep you safe and keep your family safe and keep other people in the community safe. So just check out Spirit Bear's Hibernating for Health and you get all kinds of ideas. And we have something super fun coming up. Emily will tell you about it just for December. But there'll be more activities coming ahead. So I'm hoping some of you know how to bake cookies.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So we're going to turn to, I've got some really wonderful questions in our question and answer option here. So I'm going to go through them. So I've got a question for you, Cindy. What motivated you to take the federal government to court?
I think because every child to me is sacred. Every child is sacred. And they just deserve to be treated fairly. They get the fair opportunity to grow up to be healthy, to get a good education, to be proud of who they are, and to grow up in their families. And it just seemed wrong that they were getting less than every other child. And I knew that other caring people in Canada and around the world would agree with that. And we together could do something about it. And we didn't run to court. We worked with the government before and explained the problem and put forward some solutions to help, but they didn't want to do it. So sometimes you got to go to courts. That's where you go to get some of these problems solved. And it was the right thing to do. And I'm so grateful to everyone who came and to the lawyers, the real barristers, along with Spirit Bear, who helped really make the justice for children come true. And they're still working hard at it. And I'll just mention a few of their names. So there's David Taylor, Sarah Clark, Barb McIsaac, and Anne Levesque for the Caring Society. And of course, they all work for Spirit Bear, who's a barrister. And his degree is just a few seconds away from me. So while you ask other people questions, I'm going to go get it so people can actually see that the degree he gets is real. So just hang on a second.
All right, so next question. So for anyone, Danielle, I think I'm thinking of you and anyone that was involved in the tribunal. I got questions about the cookies. There's lots of cookies in this movie. Why are cookies important? Why does Spirit Bear love cookies? What's Spirit Bear's favorite cookie?
It's true. It's a great thing. Everyone loves cookies. I know I do.
Mm-hmm.
It's like the teddy bear. I mean, Jordan River Anderson had that little blue teddy bear, and that's kind of where the idea came. And then to be a person who bears witness on something like this is really connected to the bear, and I think also to children, right? Because when I ask kids what they want to do, something fun at school, they'll always say, let's bring stuffies to school and have pajama day. So they have a real connection to that. And it's something that makes them feel better. So I really love that Cindy has included the bear and Spirit Bear as part of this whole campaign. I think it's just really important.
Mm-hmm.
Was there another part to your question?
Well, I think the question was, what was about the cookies. And personally, I think the cookies are fantastic because it reminds me that when we work together for justice, and even when we're learning about topics that are hard, we can do this from a place of love, and we can also nourish our bodies and be together. And I think that baking cookies is a really great way to do that. So Cindy, one more question. What's Spirit Bear's favorite cookie?
All right, well, a little bit more on the cookies.
Yeah.
So, First Nations culture is that when you have people come to a gathering, that you have to make sure they're taken care of. So even at the very beginning of the hearings, I started baking cookies with Spirit Bear. The two of us would bake cookies, and we would then hand them out to anybody who is able to enjoy one when they came to the tribunal hearings. So Spirit Bear really loves chocolate chip cookies. That's his favorite. And what was super cool is some of the children actually started baking chocolate chip cookies for Spirit Bear. And other people who came to the hearings, they would bring their favorite foods from home too. So we would be sharing food and singing songs. Like Thielen was there singing songs, and other people were there to bring things like drawings or pictures. And we'd all be there in a community. It was a way of bonding and honoring one another. Here's Spirit Bear's degree, so you can see it. See, barrister. This is the official thing, Osgoode Law School. So he's all official. Was there another part of the question that I missed? Because I got excited about the cookies.
Nope, that was everything. But I do have a question. People want to know about Spirit Bear has some really beautiful, has a wonderful family and some beautiful siblings. And they want to know, Miss Simoneau's class in Ottawa, at St. Luke in Ottawa, wants to know about Spirit Bear's siblings and what they're up to.
Oh, yeah. Well, Era the bear, she is now, you saw her in the movie, she learned all about the residential schools from the elders. And so now she goes around and she talks to people about the TRC's calls to action and how they can help make them become real. He also has another sister, Mamagwe, and Mamagwe actually got her name from an amazing school here in the Ottawa Carleton district in Gatineau called Pierre Elliott Trudeau School. And she is busy too. She's out working along with Era around the TRC's calls to action. And you're going to see her in future movies, really, as this whole series unfolds. And then we have Cedar Bear. And Cedar Bear is, she is a powerhouse Cedar Bear. And she is growing up and learning from Spirit Bear and from her mom all about traditional knowledge. And you're going to see her in the next book that it's going to be written. And she's really going to talk about the important and honoring ways that women bring and women and girls play in society, and why it's so important that we respect those women and girls. And Thielen knows a lot about that because he's done a run every year to honor the families of the murdered and missing Indigenous women. And Spirit Bear and Cedar are going to learn about that as well.
Thielen, do you want to speak to that a little bit? That's a really important action that you're taking. Can you tell us a little bit more about that, the runs that you're doing?
Yeah, for sure. So when I was about 9 years old, I had this dream or this idea, and we were on the side of the highway in Shawanaga First Nation near Sudbury, Ontario. And that's where I have some family over there. And it was on Earth Day and we were picking up garbage. And, just this question as a 9-year-old, I turned to my mother and I said, where do the children of the missing and murdered Indigenous women go? And she couldn't answer that question fully at that moment. So when we returned to Ottawa from Shawanaga, we had to ask some really amazing community members here. And so I went to my auntie, her name is Bridget Tolley, and she is the co-founder of Families of Sisters in Spirit, which aims to help the victims of loved ones that have gone missing or who have been murdered. And I asked her this question, and she said, every day it's hard to kind of keep on moving, but we have to make sure that we're putting one foot in front of the other and still moving forward together. And so I took those words that she said, and I said, you know what, I want to do something about this. So I said, let's run for them. Let's run for the children. Let's run for our MMIW. And that also goes for our Two-Spirit and our girls. And, when we actually got to figuring out, okay, we're going to run to Auntie Bridget's house in Kitagan-Zibi, and we're going to start in Gatineau. That was 134 kilometers. And we did that for 4 years straight. And I'm super, super thankful for each of the people that came out to show their support, to run or walk, and just to be a part, and to just be there in spirit and be there in physical person. So our greater idea is to run across Canada. So next year we will be embarking from Vancouver to Ottawa, and we will be running across Canada to raise awareness to the families and to our missing and murdered Indigenous women. So that is our big goal next year.
Thielen, that is amazing. Thank you so much for sharing that with us. Wow. All right, so we have time for, I think, one more question. I have a question from Addison at St. Augustine School in Ottawa. Addison is wondering, how long did it take to make the film?
Well, Addison, that is a very good question. And actually, I didn't know the answer to that either. So I had to ask the great artists at Spotted Fawn Productions. And for every 13 seconds of film, they had to work a full day. So that's a lot of work that went into it. Because you have to reposition the puppet. And I want you to think for a minute, like you saw Spirit Bear on the train. The train is real. And actually they made the doors so the doors would open and Spirit Bear could walk out smoothly, right? Just like he would in real life. And we really wanted to be true to the contributions of the children. So Raya, I'm hoping that when you looked at Have a Heart Day, that you saw a lot of familiar scenes there. With the signs and everything. Those were actual signs made by children at that time. The recipe in the film is a real recipe contributed by a child during Have a Heart Day. So we really tried to be very true to what actually happened, because we knew that in every one of those actions, someone put their heart and their effort into it. And we wanted to use that as an example to inspire others and also to honor their contribution. So Raya, when you looked at the film, did it seem really true to life to you?
Yeah, absolutely. When I was growing up, I would go to Have a Heart Day every year, and it was amazing. The signs, the letter boxes, people giving speeches. So when I watched the film, it was as if I was seeing Have a Heart Day with all the exact replicas. So yeah, the film was great.
Amazing. All right, so before we wrap things up, because we're just at about the end of the webinar, I just have some quick updates for you about some upcoming activities and things that you folks can do in your classroom. So we have some exciting reconciliation-based activities coming up. The first one that Cindy mentioned is we have a ginger bear competition happening. We're asking kids and students to make bear-themed or bear-shaped gingerbread cookies and send in photos to win prizes before December 15th. So you can do this at home, you can do this in your school. We would love to hear from you. I'm going to be sending out an email on Monday with more information about that. And we also have a Heart Day coming up. Like Cindy and everybody and Raya has said, Have a Heart Day is a real celebration every year, and it's an opportunity for us to stand with First Nations kids for fairness. And there's so many things you can do, free and fun ways to participate. So I'm going to send out more information about that. And the last thing is that we're going to be sending out a survey on Monday to hear about what you all thought about the film, what you thought about the lesson plans if you chose to do them, and also what you thought of this webinar. So we'd love to hear from you. Yeah, so thank you all very, very much Thank you to all of the panelists for sharing your perspectives and your experiences with us today. It gives me such joy to be here with all of you. And thank you to everybody tuning in. Thank you for engaging with the book and the film, and being here. We wish you all a wonderful day. Is there anything else anyone would like to add before we part ways?
Well, I would just say for Have a Heart Day, because of hibernating for health, is if children and young people in your community can start practicing making bears out of snow, then that would be great, because the bear can hold the sign and you can take a picture and join us on a virtual COVID safe but fun activity. So keep that going. And really, Raya and Thielen and others and Danielle, they're all role models in this movement. You never create change alone. And I think that has been the wonderful thing, is to know how many good people bring the best of what they have into the change movement.
All right. Thank you so much, Cindy. All right. I think we're ready to say goodbye for today. Thank you all so much. Take good care.
Thank you. Thank you.